as against a market which is already built, and you're saying, if I can do a better, cheaper, faster version of this, then the market already exists. From where I come from, I think I attribute a large part of where I've been able to get to two things: education and entrepreneurship. Right? Those are the two places where I got support. Current system of capital allocation that has led us here, right? Which is telling entrepreneurs that they are unworthy of credit. Whereas the reality is that we've not been able to solve the problem. We've not been able to figure out who to give credit to, who not to give credit to.
Hi everyone, welcome to a dash of inspiration. Today I'm joined by someone very special, someone who has transformed and served the Indian startup ecosystem in many ways. First, as somebody who worked with a very important large corporate entity, then somebody who was with the world of capital, and now, most importantly, building one of India's most prolific and important platforms in enabling MSMEs like never before. I'm joined by Alok Mittal, co-founder of Indifi. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks, Upasna. Pleasure to be here.
Thank you. So your journey into entrepreneurship has been an inspiration to many, and it has also been very unorthodox. So I'd like to start by actually talking about your early years. You've worn many hats. Talk to us about how the journey began and how it ended up in entrepreneurship.
My initiation into entrepreneurship happened when I was studying in college.
Wow.
I interned in my third year mandatory internship with an entrepreneur who was also an ex-IIT Delhi alum. I loved what he was doing, both by way of quality of work, but also just the professional freedom that it provided to him.
Right.
And I said, this is what I want to be, right? And coming from a family of non-entrepreneurs, essentially service folks, it was quite a departure, something that I was not familiar with in the family. But then after finishing my postgrad studies, I worked in a company for a while just to familiarize myself with how a company works. What does that even mean? And 99 is when we kicked off our first startup.
Wow, 99, back then the startup ecosystem was extremely nascent in the country, and you've obviously seen the ecosystem tide through many, many changes. What are some of your earliest insights of building in India in 1990s?
1990s was probably the time period where, for professionals like myself, entrepreneurship was getting legitimized.
Wow.
And I think a lot of that was due to companies like Infosys.
Yeah.
Who shifted this notion of entrepreneurship being, as it was called then, a scheme of a promoter,
Yes.
to something that was respected, that could be done the right way. And I think that is what gave many of us the confidence of attempting our own businesses. In the technology domain, the only business that seemed feasible at that point in time was software services, which is also something that companies like Infosys, HCL had demonstrated.
Right.
And then I think what changed a lot of that was the 99.com boom.
Yeah.
Where suddenly, without calling it that, India could give rise to product-based companies.
Yeah.
And I think that also attracted a lot of talent.
Yeah.
Because there was this sudden spike of capital and business ideas.
Yeah.
Which pulled in people like myself, but also pulled in the best consultants of the time and what you have.
Yeah.
So it was a period of mindless overinvestment, but I do think that it ended up creating that first platform of entrepreneurship in India.
But something else was also happening at that time, and especially for somebody like you who went to one of India's most prestigious schools and went abroad for your masters. People were also very excited about the idea of leaving India, and especially at that time, with the kind of education that you had. What made you actually choose to come back to India and build and not look at opportunities overseas?
Yeah, so I think there was the little bit of the professional element of it, which was, as I said, I saw an entrepreneur in operation here. I felt extremely excited about what he was doing.
Yeah.
And hence I said, hey, India is the geography I'm familiar with.
Yeah.
And hence this dream would be far easier for me to pursue here than in another geography. Now, I must say that that was a gross misjudgment on my part.
Yeah.
The valley absorbed Indian entrepreneurs like no one's business.
Yeah.
And to that extent, I think that was a mistaken decision that turned out okay.
Turned out great.
Turned out great, yeah. And then at the same time, there were the personal factors. I just felt more comfortable being here.
Yeah.
this was home to me, and it was hard for me to imagine another place like this.
Absolutely. And after that, one of your early stints was in the world of capital, right? And how did you view the startup ecosystem then? What was it like being on the other side of the table? What were some of your early insights back then?
Yeah. So, the startup ecosystem by and large did not exist. So, what happened after the spike of 99 is the bust,
Yeah.
right? And by and large, all the early stage investors either exited the market or they transitioned to growth stage investing.
Yeah.
Right? So, incidentally, when we sold our first company, at the exit party, me and a couple of my mentors, our investor in my company, we were having this chat about, hey, there is complete absence of startup ecosystem, and is there something we can do about it?
Wow.
And through that conversation, we ended up setting what is now the Indian Angel Network, right?
Wow.
Which was perhaps the first
Yes.
network of its kind in India, and now probably the largest one globally.
Yeah.
But it was also quite accidental how I got into the venture investing world. I was actually looking at doing my next startup,
Yeah.
where this opportunity sprung up, and I said, hey, why don't we try doing it for 12 months?
Yeah.
And the partner who hired me still makes a joke out of it. He said, I knew that you were going to stick. But yeah, I think it was amazing times, because around 2006-07, there was an emergence of almost 6 to 7 VC firms,
Yeah.
all simultaneously. Most of them, Indians who were abroad, who saw the opportunity here,
Yeah.
and decided to set up venture funds here. I got hired locally into a venture fund for the India business.
Yeah.
And hence, the broader sentiment was much more of, we are building this ecosystem.
Yeah.
It was much less about finance. It was much more about entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
And most of us were entrepreneurs and operators ourselves. We weren't
Yeah.
people from financial background.
Yeah.
And hence, the assumption at least was that, having been through the journey, we would be able to spot opportunities better, but at the same time be able to empathize with entrepreneurs better and help them build companies.
Yeah.
So it was kind of this whole shared sentiment that we are here building the future of the nation.
Yeah.
I know it might sound a bit um, exaggerated at this point in time, but that was very much the broad sentiment with which many of us started in this
I
industry.
remember that because I was, of course, extremely young, just starting out my career, and just that feeling of building the first set of, startup companies coming out of India was an incredible time,
Yeah.
right? And talk to me a little bit about, when you were on the other side of the table, what was one of the most interesting things you saw with Indian entrepreneurs back then?
Yeah, so I think there was a massive evolution going on, right? And there was also this whole phase of understanding how Indian entrepreneurship might turn out to be different from what was prevalent in the Silicon Valley, which was kind of the dominant template
Yeah.
at that point in time, right? So one, we started seeing during that period the emergence of the younger entrepreneur, right? So if you go from 2006-07, and I would argue that even in 1999, most of the entrepreneurs who were coming in were with far more experience
Right.
than what we saw then happen around 2008 to 10.
Right.
Right. So I think those people were also coming up without any regard to what happened during the dot-com bust and so on. So more fearlessness,
Yes.
right? Just young college kids, dreaming aggressively and not having the burden of experience.
Yeah.
And that was fascinating to see, right? I've known some of those entrepreneurs, over more than a decade now, and it's just amazing to see how they have grown in their own entrepreneurial journeys. At the same time, we started to realize that, in India, you don't have to be building disruptively, right? That the white spaces in this market, the underserved audience was so large that you could actually build for that, where you were not putting another business out, but you were just capturing the space that was never occupied in the first place. And the way you build those businesses lands up being slightly different from the way you would want to build disruptive businesses, right? In disruptive business, it's important to be fast, it's important to break stuff. Normally, may be important to infuse a lot more capital. Exits tends to be mergers and acquisitions. So the Indian experience over time has turned out to be very different, right? We are producing public companies, which are standalone, independent, large companies now. It's fascinating.
It's fascinating. And also parallel to that, the Indian customer journey completely shape-shifted, right? So many paradigm shifts. Even today, the last couple of years itself, from the advent of UPI to financial inclusion to technology, so much has happened so fast. I'm sure you saw those spikes back then too.
And all of us started to think about how to to model that, right? So take online travel. Deep and his team started same time, 99, 2000.
Yeah.
And the first 5 years, the domestic business wasn't doing anything.
Yeah.
And then we suddenly saw these 4 companies, not one,
Yeah.
beginning to take off simultaneously.
Yeah.
Right? And what happened in between was ecosystem developments, right? Online ticketing, online payments,
Yeah.
right? Allowing electronic ticket
Yeah.
to present,
Yeah.
right? When you're entering the airport, not that voucher.
Yes.
And so it started to become clear that many times you were taking a risk around, hey, is this the right time to build this?
Yeah.
As against a market which is already built, and you're saying, if I can do a better, cheaper, faster version of this, then the market already exists.
Yeah.
So the nature of risk that entrepreneurs were taking and investors were
Yeah.
taking was somewhat different.
Yeah, and you would have seen, right, an entire generation being born on the mobile, right, where we actually went through the evolution of PC and desktop, and these guys just, started their consumer journeys on the mobile itself. So could you back then also sort of assess that this is the boom that would happen? Did you guys see early signs of that?
See, the challenging part about India is that there are many early signs of different booms.
Yeah.
Right? And you tend to read some of those right, and you tend to read some of those absolutely wrong, right? So,
Yeah.
for example, in the mobile, there was this whole messaging boom that happened around late 2007 and
Yeah.
2010, right? And I still remember the acronyms that were used then. On messaging, we'll have ABCD, astrology, Bollywood, cricket, and there must be a D to it. Right?
Yeah.
And that wave completely died down.
That's true.
Right. So there were some of these false starts.
Yeah.
And to that extent, that was the nature of inherent risk that one was taking. On the mobile app side, I think by and large, I want to say I missed more than I saw.
Really?
And there are entrepreneurs who saw it, much more clearly,
Yeah.
not necessarily, and built mobile first businesses. I do think I was a late follower onto that one.
Yeah. And when you were in the world of capital, again, the natural progression would have been you would have deep dived into that. But you actually decided to foray from that into the world of entrepreneurship. Why the shift, and what was that transition like?
Yeah, I think given how I entered into the world of capital, it always seemed like entrepreneurship more than finance.
Yeah.
Right? As I said, collectively, I think few of us who started the first venture firms in India at that time were pursuing a mission, right? We were not just chasing returns.
Right.
And it was more about, helping entrepreneurs build businesses, trying to identify opportunities ground up. So to me personally, it did not look like a shift that it looks like from outside.
Yeah.
But having said that, after spending a few years in investment, I was restless to do something which was operating back again.
Yeah.
To build rather than to help build. And hence, when that opportunity arose of saying, hey, there's a fresh start to be made,
Yeah.
my first instinct was to come back, do a startup. And that's when I started to look at different ideas that were out there on the consideration side.
And you landed on Indifi, which
Yeah.
is, an incredible platform. And I've had the privilege of seeing the way Indifi is being built. And one of the most beautiful things about Indifi and the way it operates is that every time we're talking about the platform, we always end up talking about the end customer.
Yeah.
Most of your insights to, the team are about what you heard the entrepreneur say. So talk to us a little bit about the genesis of, why you built this platform and, the gap that it's bridging.
From where I come from, I think I attribute a large part of where I've been able to get to two things: education and entrepreneurship. Right? Those are the two places where I got support. I got my breaks, and things didn't turn out too bad. Got lucky, right?
Yeah.
And hence, this passion for entrepreneurship is something that developed over a period of time. At some stage, and I think this was probably more initiated by my interactions with the government more than
Right.
anything else. There was this whole realization that the venture-backed style of entrepreneurship is just the tip of the iceberg, right? And we talk about entrepreneurs in India, there are 30, 40, 60, depending on what number you want to believe, let's say 60 million entrepreneurs sitting out there, some in a sustenance mode, some in an aspirational mode. And they have very little support from the ecosystem.
Yeah.
Right. And I think somewhere that, kind of passion for entrepreneurship started to translate into, hey, is there something that can be done to enable millions of entrepreneurs and
Yeah.
not hundreds of entrepreneurs?
Yeah.
So that was really the driver to Indifi.
Yeah.
Of course, alongside that were very, very rational components of where is the opportunity in the market. The same timing question of saying this opportunity gap has existed for decades now,
Yeah.
and why is now a good time to go attempt it?
Yeah. Why was that a good time to go attempt it?
So I think we did land up seeing digitization of MSMEs far earlier than most of the people did.
Right.
Right. So in 2014, when we started to look at it, it seemed to us that there was this small niche of digital MSMEs beginning to spring up.
Right.
And digitization, availability of technology platforms, availability of data uh, could overcome the barriers that had existed for decades
Right.
as far as MSME credit inclusion was concerned.
Right.
If you take me back to 2015, I don't think I would imagine where we've gotten today as an ecosystem.
Yeah.
Right? Today, our own estimate is there are at least about 20 million digital entrepreneurs.
Wow. 20 million.
At that time, we could kind of wrap our arms around a million.
Wow.
And our business plans would talk about million going to 2 million, 3 million. But
Yeah.
I think really what the mobile and UPI has done is truly amazing.
Yeah.
But I think those were the green shoots that we were beginning to see. And I think partly because of my role in venture capital,
Yeah.
because the first signs of that being visible were in large online platforms where MSMEs were selling.
Right.
So, hotels on Make My Trip, sellers on Flipkart, right?
Yeah.
Traders on IndiaMart.
Yeah.
I think that was the first kind of source of insight
Yeah.
that this is beginning to happen, and this is formalization.
Yeah.
Filing taxes is not formalization.
Yeah.
And so we figured that this was what we wanted to build behind.
Yeah.
I think luckily, by and large, we got the timing of that shift
Really well.
correct. Yeah.
Absolutely. And like we said, so much of what you're doing is building and solving for these MSMEs. And to the world today, MSME is a beautiful, grand, large word, but it actually comes down to millions of incredible digital entrepreneurs. Would love to know a little bit more about some of your early interactions with these entrepreneurs. What was that like? And today, how much of that has shifted? What are these entrepreneurs feeling and thinking on ground?
Yeah. No, so see, I think on just what motivated us to solve the problem, right? I think it's important to understand what the current system of capital allocation does. And travel agencies was our first segment where we went in and started to provide credit. And when we would go and meet customers there, and you meet a travel agent, you talk to them about the fact that you're looking to finance. Pretty much no one was financing travel agents on an unsecured basis at that time. And one thing that we would hear back from them was this notion of, it's okay if you want to lend to me, but don't lend to my community because it's all people who are going to run away with your money.
Really?
This is the travel agents themselves telling us this.
That
right?
don't lend to our own community.
Yes.
Wow.
And we've seen this, repeated one after the other. Now, where is this coming from, right?
Yeah.
I think it is the current system of capital allocation that has led us here, right? Which is telling entrepreneurs that they are unworthy of credit. Whereas the reality is that we've not been able to solve the problems.
Yeah.
We've not been able to figure out who to give credit to, who not to give credit to,
Yeah.
how to design that credit in a form and shape that is reasonably secure.
Yeah.
Right. And so at some level, when we make, this entrepreneur wait in a bank queue,
yeah.
we are stripping them of dignity. I think digitization is also a great way of restoring that.
Yeah.
Right? It makes the equation between the borrower and the lender symmetric.
Yeah.
After that, we've gone to multiple industries, and we have observed this pattern that in many communities, this is the general sentiment.
Yeah.
That the way my peers behave,
Yeah.
right, is not credit worthy.
Absolutely.
So what we would love to do is to turn that around.
Yeah.
Right. Today, if a sixth of Indian entrepreneurs are addressed through formal financing, the other 5/6 of the entrepreneurs, 85% of the entrepreneurs can't be unworthy of credit.
Yeah.
Right? That's not the country that you and I live in.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
I can understand if 20% of them are unworthy of credit today.
Yeah.
And so the onus is on the industry to solve for that, to
Yeah.
find ways of solving for that in a responsible manner.
Absolutely. And you said something really important, which is this process has to have some dignity in it, right? And that's why, social taboo and the lack of access has deterred a lot of people and many
Yeah.
segments to come onto it, one of them being women. And, you guys have done some really great work with
Yeah.
actually solving for that for women entrepreneurs. Would love to know a little bit more about that.
So, Upasna, actually, I think, I don't think we've done much. And this is what I mean by it, right? So, if you look at participation of women in the MSME sector, right, it's broadly indexed at about 20%, right? So, 20% of Indian MSMEs are women run. If you look at participation in MSME credit, that is in single digits. Okay. So, the industry has not included women in the
Yeah.
credit participation,
Yeah.
right? Now, what have we done? We don't have the policy parameters, human underwriters going and talking to customers,
Yeah.
right? Our credit models are data driven,
Yeah.
right? Analysis is relatively speaking more objective, defined, process based, all of that. And the interesting part is when you do that, women qualify,
Yeah.
right? So it's not that we've gone in and created a program for women of saying, no, no, we know that we may get more losses out of this, but we're going to
Yeah.
fund women. All we are doing is taking the existing biases away, and women are shining, right?
Yeah.
Their credit quality is better than our male customers,
Right.
right? We are able to beat the women participation in MSME on our credit footprint,
Right.
right? It's just happening because digitization, this easier access because you don't have to walk into a bank branch and stand in the queue.
Yeah.
Biases from the credit underwriting norms,
Yeah.
right? We are just taking those away. And I must say that for most part, we are taking them away inadvertently, right? So just, that notion of do no harm, if you follow that, then you get to the right place.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's incredible to see that, because of things like this, more and more women are now thinking of, entrepreneurships as an actual mainstay, right? And in the last 3 years itself, that, number has catapulted quite significantly. Which brings me to my next question. Some of the most interesting insights that I've ever heard from you have been about your anecdotes of talking to people on ground. And I'd love for you to share, maybe one or two that have really struck a chord with you and shaped the way you build the company.
So I think, see, one of the things that has fascinated me is the notion of innovation and resilience. And of course, when we talk about dot-com bust or COVID bust, we talk about those characteristics in relation to venture-funded companies
Right.
and how an entrepreneur could sail through with just $5 million in their bank account.
5 million.
Right. And nothing to take away from that. What we saw as resilience during the COVID period of the smaller entrepreneur was even more amazing, right? So there's this entrepreneur who I met in Gurgaon, actually, near Hironda Chowk. And he's a dealer in recycled plastic pellets.
Right.
Right? So it's a completely undifferentiated business. You buy and you sell. And before COVID, he used to operate at about a 60-day working capital cycle. Right? Through the COVID period, remote kicked in. And that person converted the entire business to zero inventory. So literally crunched down his working capital cycle from 60 days to less than 10 days.
Wow.
Right? And did that on back of digitization. So signed up to one of the logistics platforms and would do just-in-time pickup. The goods never reached his warehouse. They were directly drop-shipped from the supplier to the buyer.
Wow.
This person would get his distribution margins in between. Right?
Wow.
So immense improvement in working capital, hence lower need for financing, right? Better profit margins. But more importantly, managed to both survive and grow.
Yeah.
Right. We've seen another entrepreneur in the retail business, gifting shop, was doing quite well before the pandemic. 4 stores in Delhi NCR, offline stores selling gifts, completely got killed in the pandemic.
Completely.
Right. Was pretty much done, rose from the ashes, in all senses of that phrase. And then came back, continues to be a customer of ours. But really pulled the business back in shape on basis of their own equity investment, but also debt that was made available. Now, it is very hard for me to imagine that any of these two businesses would have gotten capital from the conventional sources.
Yeah.
Right? Both of them have proven themselves to be worthy of capital.
Yeah.
Right? And I think the more support we can provide to entrepreneurs like this,
Yeah.
I firmly believe that that is where the country will grow.
Absolutely.
We will create a few very large companies, but these are the kind of companies, and these are amazingly efficient companies.
Yeah.
Right? In fact, this whole narrative of large format retail killing smaller format retail, I don't think that's happening, and that's not happening because the level of efficiency that Kirana store owner engineers.
Has.
Right? It's just amazing how every rupee is stretched there.
Absolutely.
Right? That one support boy is doing 5 different jobs at the same
Or
time.
that neighborhood unbranded pharmacy,
Yeah.
or the scrap dealer on the outskirts of the city.
Scrap is the other industry that has just amazed me.
Really?
India is one of the only countries where that business actually makes money.
Yeah.
You don't have to pay someone to recycle.
Yeah.
It's just amazing some of the innovation that you see at that end of the spectrum.
Absolutely. And, again, you've also had a very interesting vantage point where, of course, you're seeing incredible entrepreneurs in tier 1, tier 2 city, but you're also accessing these entrepreneurs in other parts of the country, tier 2, tier 3, and beyond Bharat, so to speak. You've seen that, from different lenses over the past couple of years. Would love to know a little bit more about what is that entrepreneur looking like in that tier 3 city in Bharat right now?
Yeah. See, tier 3 city in India has always been an entrepreneurship only destination.
That's true.
Right? Apart from government jobs,
Yeah.
the only thing that flies there is entrepreneurship. Right?
Yeah.
In fact, my own family business, which I have never run, is a shop, right, in a tier 3 city.
Wow.
Right? I have certainly sat in the shop selling stuff
Really?
when I was very young. And that is how entrepreneurship thrives.
Yeah.
I think what has emerged is this ability to reinvent. Right?
Yeah.
So this shop, that my cousin of mine runs now, that started off as a iron workshop, right? We used to manufacture these kadhas for kitchens, for commercial kitchens, halwai ke liye. And that business itself has undergone 3 or 4 complete revamps.
Yeah.
Right? First the manufacturing went away, then iron went away.
Yeah.
No one uses iron utensils anymore.
Yeah.
Right? Then trading started. Right? Then that was initially utensils trading, then became general household appliances trading.
Yeah.
So within the last 30 years, that business has reinvented itself 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
Right? So there is that degree of agility that already exists in these tier 3 towns.
Yeah.
Right? There is an aspiration that has kicked in. Right? So the whole kind of increase in consumerism is fueling unprecedented amount of aspiration in those entrepreneurs.
Yes.
Right? They want to be bigger. Right? They want to look like a Delhi entrepreneur.
Yeah. Want to access the same things.
They want to access the same things,
Yeah.
right? The aspirations are very similar. This cousin of mine, his daughter now works for BCG.
Wow.
Right? So I think if you start to understand some of those aspirations and the leap that entrepreneur is making,
It's amazing.
right? They are covering the ground that normally would get covered in 2 or 3 generations. They
Yeah.
are covering that in 20 years.
Amazing.
Right. And I think that is the energy and that is the initiative that lies in every tier 3 city.
Beautiful. And so much of our mainstream conversation is actually for businesses that are in tier 1, tier 2 cities. And this narrative of, India's now having an entrepreneurship moment. But what you're basically saying, and you're right, is all of us have grown up with some relative somewhere in some tier 3 city running a very successful business. It's just that we didn't call it entrepreneurship, right?
Absolutely,
We called it shop wala or business wala, and that is basically showing that the Indian entrepreneurship spirit has always been alive and well in different forms. It has just taken another
I think one
shape.
thing which is changing, and I think it's a amazing opportunity at the scale that we are, is a lot of the sustenance entrepreneurship is now finding space to actually grow and be meaningful.
Right.
Right? So that same person who was in entrepreneurship purely because there was no other means to survive, right, has now, grown enough to create the elbow room to send their daughters to tier one college,
Yeah.
right, or to grow their business to a point where it looks like a real business,
Yeah.
right? So I think that a shift from dominant number of these being sustenance businesses to a large number of them now being, businesses that add value to the whole economy
It's
and
amazing.
generate margins, generate surplus,
Yeah.
generate growth. I think that is the transition that has happened. I think largely in the last 20, 25 years.
Absolutely. And which is what brings me to my next question. In the 1990s, you, of course, saw many catalysts of this boom. Today, in 2024, and looking at the roadmap ahead, what do you think are going to be like the biggest triggers of change that's really going to change the way, entrepreneurs run this country?
So, see, I think this is the silent entrepreneur, right? So many of them will continue to run this country. I think when you look at aggregates, that impact is very visible, right? So whether it is 35, 40% of Indian GDP, exports, like look at any metric, this bunch of entrepreneurs is punching above its weight.
Yeah.
I think the drivers are in consumption, right? Consumption growth is driving a lot of this. Reality is more than half of these entrepreneurs are retailers,
Yeah.
right? So I think that is a fundamental driver. I do think digitization has acted as a massive driver.
Yeah.
And again, there are companies that have then innovated on how to include them, right? So initially, 15 years back, the notion of e-commerce was, is it going to be a threat to the retail
Yeah.
store operator, right? Then companies started to come up who are saying, hey, no, we will serve the retail store owner
Yeah.
and commerce will happen through them, but we
Yeah.
will introduce efficiencies in the back-end supply chain.
Yeah.
Digitization truly has been the driving force
Yeah.
for these entrepreneurs in developing more resiliency, more agility towards customers, and unlock growth there.
Yeah.
So again, I think while we already think of India as being on the leading edge of digitization, I think that dividend is going to continue to unfold moving forward.
Absolutely. And one very common attribute of great entrepreneurs and great businesses is resilience, right? And resilience means actually surviving and scaling through multiple tides. And you've seen many. Would love to know a little bit more about, how does one, sort of come up from an inevitable low point and then turn that into a great opportunity? What have been your biggest learnings?
Yeah, I think entrepreneurs on the margin are overly optimist. They probably have an exaggerated view of themselves.
Yes.
And I think those things help, right? Because when you're sitting in middle of COVID, when talent is exiting through your door, capital is exiting through your door, right? Customers are defaulting. Then you need a little bit of irrational confidence
Yeah.
to be able to say, hey, this will pass. And what can we make most of the opportunity? And certainly we have gone through that. But I know several other entrepreneurs at every, step of the scale pyramid who have gone through those experiences. I also do think that relative to when this, at least I experienced it for the first time during the dot-com bust and then the global financial crisis, the whole ecosystem now has a somewhat better handle on how to go about this.
Yeah.
Right? Investors are more experienced at handling this. Advisors, mentors are more experienced at handling this. Many entrepreneurs are building for the second time, third time.
Yeah.
Right? So I do think that all of us are probably much better prepared
Yeah.
at handling these kind of disruptions than we were in the past. But yeah, I think that has been a great trait. You would have noticed even in the venture-backed ecosystem,
Yeah.
companies that are completely written off,
Come back.
right, come back and they come back quite well, right?
Yes.
If you look at the companies that have gone public in the last 12 to 18 months,
Yeah.
I can distinctly think of times when they were completely written off,
Yeah.
right? Each one of them.
Yeah.
And today they are thought of as, great thriving companies, right? Most of the companies of the 99 batch, right, dot-com boom and bust,
Yeah.
right? Look at Make My Trip, look at InfoEdge, look at India Mart. They are very successful, thriving public companies now.
Absolutely. And the ecosystem also has evolved and matured, and it is a lot more forgiving. I think it, is open to, people coming back, giving it a second chance. I think that's been really helpful as well. And as somebody again who spends a lot of time with entrepreneurs through the different sort of verticals that you work on, what is the force or what is the mood of just entrepreneurs in general in the country today that you can see, that you can tap on?
See, I think there is a certain inevitability to where India is headed.
Right.
Right. I think that is at the base of our optimism. Right. I think there is a, if the business confidence index is growing at 55, I think the entrepreneurs confidence index in the next 10-year potential of India is 90 plus.
Definitely.
Right. And that is arising out of everything from the demographic dividend being available, to capital being available, to the markets being ripe for takeoff, to the investments that are happening from the public sector into digitization, into infrastructure. So there are many drivers to that, but that is really the underlying kind of platform on which everything else sits. Second, I think given the examples that have been built over time, there is this unshakable belief in our own agency.
Yes.
Right, that we are the ones who are going to make the difference, right? And sure, some of us will temporarily fail. There is a firm confidence that if that future is going to get realized, right, we are the engine to realize that future. No one else is going to come in and realize that for us, and we will sit back and draw our salaries from there.
Yes.
Right. So I think that is the second key pillar.
Yeah.
And I think the great part is that every 5 to 7 years, the threshold on role models have only gone up.
Definitely.
Right. So when we sold our first company, we were regarded as a successful company. Right. Today you can be 1,000 times of that.
Yeah.
Right. And that has happened just in 15 years.
Just in 15 years. Yeah.
Right. And so, the younger entrepreneurs who are coming out, they don't even look at $100 million company like, that's an achievement.
Yes.
Right. They are shooting for saying, hey, success looks much bigger. So the aspirations are higher, the capital is available to support those aspirations, the talent is available to support those aspirations.
Yeah.
Right. So I think it's kind of the perfect storm.
Yeah.
Where I'm sure there'll be some missteps. I'm sure some of us will, as I said, temporarily fail.
Yeah.
But there is no doubt in my mind that the next decade or two belong to India, and within India, I think it belongs to the Indian entrepreneurs.
Absolutely. And, that brings me to the last segment. Indian entrepreneurship is an incredible thing, right? They say if you can drive in this country, you can drive anywhere. And if you can build in this country, you can build anywhere. And again, as someone who has truly seen India and its journey built through different elements of this journey, what, according to you personally as an entrepreneur, are your top 3 lessons in this journey so far?
See, I have derived my lessons more from people I've seen around myself. And again, I'll take concrete examples. My first venture investment was in Bharat Matrimony.
Wow.
Murga is a great entrepreneur. And to your point of purpose-driven entrepreneurship, right? It's a company that's a matchmaker.
Yeah.
Right. But if you're talking to Murga, he's talking to you about how successful marriages create a successful nation. And let me tell you, he's not kidding you. He's not kidding himself.
Yeah.
He truly believes in that.
Yeah.
Right. Now that is the passion that he carries for his business.
Yes.
Right. And that is what allows him to operate across now already a 26-year span.
Yeah.
And
still relevant.
He can keep going for another 26 years. Right. He's not tired. Right. So I think that sense of purpose is something that is, one big learning for me. I think being part of a country which is where it is and seeing ourselves as the engine for what will take this country forward cements that sense of purpose.
Yeah.
Right? I've seen very few entrepreneurs in India who are only in it to make money.
Yeah.
Of course, we want to make money. Right? Yeah. But there is always that deeper sense of purpose that is embedded in saying, hey, all of this is adding up to something which is worth pursuing.
And you can do both, right? Purpose-driven scale.
Absolutely.
That we talk about. That, you can build a really incredible platform, solve a really meaningful problem and make it make money.
Yeah. So that's one example. The second example was what was my last venture investment. I've made angel investments after that, and that is in Happiest Mind, Mr. Ashok Soota.
Right.
Right. Literally, we had to knock on his door multiple times to convince him to take our money.
Wow.
Right. But when he did give me time, he sat me across the table and he said, hey, Alok, I've seen one of your investments in the services space. And I want to learn from you on what have you seen there? Now imagine this guy has built Wipro's IT business. This guy has built Mindtree,
Wow.
right? I am, in terms of experience, probably 20% of his experience,
Right.
He has the humility to sit me across the table and learn from me. And again, he's not trying to patronize me. He doesn't need to,
Yeah.
right? I think that attitude of being able to learn from anyone,
Yes.
that attitude of being a lifelong learner,
Yeah.
I think that's the second kind of, amazing quality that sits in my mind,
Right.
right? And again, I see that being embodied in entrepreneurs across. We spoke earlier a little bit about entrepreneurs who were written off and have come back
Yeah.
brilliantly, right? That is because they are on the ground, listening to their customers, challenging their own beliefs.
Yeah.
That is where agility comes from,
Yeah.
right? So I think that's the second one. And the third example I would pick is my own, first mentor, and he was my boss's boss's boss in my first job.
Wow.
And when I was leaving my job, he called me in. It was a small company, 250 people at that time. And he said, "Look, I heard you're leaving. So what are you up to?" "I'm going to start my own company." Right? So I said, "Okay, if you want to start your own company, then I'm not going to stop you. But you should just know one thing, that if you want to, we are always open for you." And imagine what that does to a 27-year-old, right? He
Yeah.
just took the risk out of the equation.
Yeah.
Right? Then thinking, नहीं चला तो क्या होगा, नौकरी मिलेगी नहीं मिलेगी.
Yes.
In that one stroke, he took the risk away.
Yeah.
And I think that is the set of mentors and advisors we have in the ecosystem.
Yeah.
Right?
Truly.
And I think those elements are what are coming together to make what this is becoming.
Yeah.
So I'm just completely convinced that with all of this in place, right, there's no way we're going to miss this decade of opportunity.
India is ready for its moment and it's coming now.
Absolutely.
Great. Thank you so much, Alok. It's always such a pleasure speaking to you and, hoping to hear more and more from you. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Upasna.